Hello, ghosties. You're listening to Not My Ghost.
Not My Problem. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jen.
Whether you're a skeptic, a true believer, or somewhere in between, join us for a journey into the unknown.
Because remember, when it comes to the paranormal, it may not be our problem.
But it's certainly someone's problem. Hey, Jen.
Yes.
Did you know it's bedtime?
It's not bedtime yet, Kelly.
It's 5 o'clock. It got dark out. It's bedtime.
I know. It's sad. That's why you should move to Florida, because it doesn't get dark until 6 here after daylight savings.
I'm not moving to Florida. I can't.
I know.
But it's the saddest day of the year when we lose the sun.
It is pretty sad.
And I feel like when it gets dark outside, that's it. The day is over. If you were here and you said to me at 6:30 p.m., hey, do you want to run to Walmart? I would say, at this hour? Because it's dark and it's bedtime. You finish dinner, you do the dishes, and you just go to bed. Because all the sunshine and the joy and the greatness is just done for the year.
It's also a little easier in Florida because it's not as cold outside.
Oh, it's not as cold outside here either. Like, we're still getting days that are 80.
Okay.
Between the 60s and the 80s here right now.
Yeah. I think, today we was like a high of 82 in Florida. But generally most of our days, like even now with the sun setting, like you could sit outside with a hoodie and, sweatpants and be very comfortable.
Right. In about 2 weeks, when everybody's Christmas lights and stuff are going up, I perk up a little bit usually.
That's good.
And then December 26th is the second worst day of the year.
Right. But by that time, you're at least getting a little bit longer every day.
I know.
Because December 21st, the winter solstice, is the longest day of the year. And after Christmas, it starts to get a little bit longer every day.
I know, but we still have to make it through January and February. And I don't know what it is about February, how it has only 28 days in it, but it feels like it's 3 times as long as any other month. It sucks. I hate February. If there is a God and I meet him one day, I'm going to look him in the eyes and say, the fuck's up with February?
It's not as bad here in Florida because it's warm.
Well, I hate it.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the scripted, unscripted banter part of our episode.
Yes, it is. We definitely forgot to mention that.
Yes, we did. I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah? What's my question?
If you had to live the rest of your life with the last movie or TV show you watched, what is the movie or TV show, and how do you think you'd do?
This is very fitting for this podcast.
So is mine. So
last TV show that I watched, because I am rewatching Destination Fear right now. So that is the last TV show that I watched, unless you count the Ravens game. Does that count?
I don't think that's a TV show.
Yeah, I didn't think so, because I watched that today and we won. So that was good. But TV show, Destination Fear. And I don't know how I would do. I was actually just thinking about it because I'm going back and obviously starting from the beginning. And I know I texted you the other day, Kelly, when I was starting at episode 1. And I said, they're scaredy cats in the beginning because I'm so used to watching them now where they're a lot braver. And I feel like I would be very similar to them in the beginning where everything would scare the fuck out of me. And then over time, I would get better.
It's interesting because when I went to the Q&A they had at Paracon, people asked them, does it get easier? And they all said, absolutely not. They said every time we go to sleep alone, we have the same thought, like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
I think they get better at it too. But maybe they're just learning how to kind of...
Yeah, calm down.
kind of like show outwardly that they are calmer.
Yeah.
Maybe inside they still feel that way.
I definitely feel like when they sleep alone, they still get pretty scared. But where I notice less fear and more fear in the beginning is when they're together. Like they would jump at everything. And
Right.
like Chelsea would almost start crying at like every little thing. And now they're definitely a lot better.
Chelsea is like the badass of the show, really.
Yeah.
The stuff that Chelsea does, I'm like, why you guys are just letting her show you up all the time? It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love her growth, especially going back and starting back from the beginning. You can really see it.
If you watch the Trail to Terror, their documentary.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She couldn't even.
No, she didn't even make it through. I know.
Right. Mine, fitting, was Ghost Hunters.
Okay. Similar.
And I think I would do great because I have been a paranormal investigator, as you know, because you were an investigator with me.
I was, however briefly.
Yeah.
I don't think the investigating would be the hard part. I think with Destination Fear, it's the sleeping alone that I don't know if I could do.
That is definitely different between a paranormal investigation and then Destination Fears and now Project Fear.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, there's a new episode on YouTube.
I already watched it.
Okay.
That's why I started rewatching it, because I watched the one where they went to the castle.
I haven't seen it yet because we have to wait for Nick and he's on mids.
Okay,
so.
It's good. It's part 1, so there will be a second one that will come out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. And then that's why I got into it. I'm like, oh, now I want more, but I don't have more, so I'm just going to start back from the beginning.
Their show is definitely more focused on how our fear affects what the activity around us and everything.
Absolutely.
Whereas Ghost Hunters is more, we are investigating.
Yeah.
I like to think that I could sleep alone or, stay alone in some of these places. But I have a story from a place we recently visited that showed me, nah,
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't.
I don't even like to think that I could. I know that I couldn't. At least not right now in my level of being exposed to paranormal buildings.
Yeah. Well, are you ready to get into today's episode?
I am ready, Kelly. What are we talking about?
Today, we are diving in to a mind-bending phenomenon.
Phenomena.
That has people questioning their very reality. The Mandela Effect. Ever had a memory so vivid you'd swear it was true?
Yes.
Only to find out the world doesn't quite remember it the same way?
Well, it depends. Some of the world does. Some of the world doesn't.
Well, you're not alone. We're going to get in for our fun facts. I'm going to go over the 4 most, I think the 4 most common ones.
Okay.
And then we'll get into some of the psychology and everything. And then we'll get into some other ones.
I love psychology.
So many people distinctly remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s, with some even recalling news coverage of the funeral. But in reality, Mandela was released from prison in 1990, became the president of South Africa, and passed away in 2013. That's where we get, obviously, the Mandela Effect name.
I can honestly say I don't remember Nelson Mandela passing away in prison in the 1980s.
I think that would have been very difficult for you to remember. You probably don't remember his release in 1990.
Probably not. I'd be really impressed if a newborn could remember the release of some guy in prison in another country.
Right.
But who knows?
In the 80s, I was a kid. I don't really have any memories of Nelson Mandela funeral or anything.
Yeah.
This one I do remember. Many people remember the beloved children's book series being spelled the Berenstain Bears.
Pisses me off.
The correct spelling has always been Berenstain.
No, it hasn't.
With an A-I-N ending. And I remember Berenstain Bears.
You remember Berenstain or you remember Berenstein?
Stain.
No, I will die on this hill, Kelly.
I had
Kelly,
all of the books, and they were the Berenstain Bears.
this is the hill that I will die on. It was Berenstain.
Well, can you find a book that says Berenstain?
No, but it was. It was the Berenstain Bears.
Okay. Moving on. So we don't argue about Berenstain versus Berenstain all night.
We might be arguing a lot during this episode.
Yeah, we might be. Darth Vader is widely remembered as saying, Luke, I am your father.
No. Hold up, Kelly. Unacceptable.
What?
Luke, I am your father.
Sure.
Gotta say it right, or don't say it at all.
In The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader is widely remembered as saying,
Luke, I am your father.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But in reality, the actual line is, no, I am your father. Doesn't say Luke.
So I did not watch Star Wars until I was an adult. Like when I was with my ex, he made me watch them, and I enjoyed them very much so. But obviously, I had always known this iconic line, because who doesn't, whether you watch the show or not? And I watched them and still thought that was the line. And then I read this about the Mandela Effect a few years later and literally had to pull up the video online to watch it because I did not believe it. I was 100%, even though it was fairly fresh in my mind, it wasn't like 20 years ago that I had watched it. It was a couple of years. And I was still 100% believed that it said, Luke, I am your father.
Yeah. I saw the first Star Wars movie in a drive-in movie theater when I was really, really little.
And they said, Luke, I am your father.
Well, that was in the second movie, The Empire Strikes Back. And no, he said, no, I am your father.
No, he
I would have
definitely
said Luke too.
Luke.
I would have said
Luke.
he said, Luke, I am your father as well. But looking back at it and pulling up the clips and watching the movie on TV now, it's definitely...
That's the whole thing with the Mandela Effect is they're messing with our brains.
I don't know that they are.
They are.
But we're going to get into a little bit of the history of how it got its name, obviously, about Nelson Mandela. But
yes.
So the Mandela Effect gained its widespread attention in 2009 when paranormal consultant Fiona Broom coined the term after experiencing a strange memory. She vividly recalled news coverage of Nelson Mandela's death in prison during the 1980s, only to discover, as we said, he had lived until 2013. Upon sharing this with others, she found that many people had the same false memory, leading her to believe it wasn't an isolated event. This discovery inspired Broom to create a website, MandelaEffect.com, where she documented similar collective memory anomalies. While the term itself is relatively new, the concept of false collective memories isn't. Psychologists have long studied false memories and cognitive distortions, where people remember events differently than they actually occurred. However, the Mandela Effect refers specifically to large groups of people sharing these incorrect memories, giving the phenomenon a sense of eerie synchronicity. Examples of the Mandela Effect began pouring in, with people citing everything from brand logos to movie lines they remembered differently. Psychologists explain the Mandela Effect as a result of several factors. Human memory is malleable and prone to errors, especially when influenced by suggestion, groupthink, and cultural reinforcement. People sometimes unconsciously fabricate details to fill in gaps in their memory, making the recalled version feel entirely real. I thought that was interesting, though, that we're not even aware that we're doing it, but we're filling in gaps. And then because we're doing that and not knowing that we're doing it, those things that we filled in become real to us.
Yeah. One of the things I always found really interesting, and I think I learned it back in school when I was, majoring in psychology for my bachelor's degree. Did so much with that. But it was when we remember something, we are remembering the last time we remembered it. So therefore, each time we remember it, it's getting almost a little fuzzier in our brain. And then our brain, as you said, does start to fill in gaps with certain things, which is why people can so vividly remember things that didn't happen, which is also why eyewitness testimony is a shit defense or a shit thing for the prosecution to put into court cases, because our brains and our memories are so shit that eyewitness testimony doesn't really mean anything.
Right. I like to write when something big happens. I like to write it down so I can always reflect back to what actually happened. My friend Michelle was a teacher for over 20 years. She's a principal now. She's a principal of a Catholic school. And their religion teacher, I don't think they had one this year. So she is teaching their religion class.
Okay.
And one of the things that she does with her students, she'll be teaching the class and she'll give like her secretary, the athletic coach, she'll give those two people like, you're going to come in to my classroom and disrupt things. These are the exact lines you were going to say. You cannot deviate from this script at all. So she's like, you're going to come in first. You're going to tell me this, then you're going to go over. You're going to accidentally drop your cup. You're going to pick it up. Like very detailed for the first two people to come in. And then she has a third person that comes in and she tells them, you're the wild card. You can come in and do or say anything. That happens during the class. And then when they all leave, she tells the students, we're going to take a quiz on what just happened. And she asked them very deep, who came in first? What did she say? What color was her shirt? Like just to show them that our memories aren't always what necessarily happened, or that many people can see the exact same thing happen and have different versions of it.
Is this something about why the Bible might not be the best source of information because it was written by people? No. Okay.
For her in the religion class, it is because the Gospels have 4 different tellings.
Oh, okay.
Of the crucifixion and resurrection. It's kind of to show why there might be 4 different versions of it. I love my friend. She's very dear to me. And her religion is her religion. And
absolutely.
My non-religion is my non-religion. So
absolutely.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of good things about Michelle. I have nothing bad to say about her.
She's wonderful. Memories can get muddled over time. For example, someone might confuse Rich Uncle Pennybags, the Monopoly mascot, with Mr. Peanut, leading to the false memory of the Monopoly man having a monocle, which he never did.
Yes, he did.
Now, you can find pictures of him with one now because people are creating them. That's one thing you do find online now. People will create the false memory.
Yes.
Like, oh, look, here's the Monopoly man with the monocle. But that was never the case.
So you say.
Well, so the Monopoly maker says.
Yeah, well, maybe in another dimension, that was the case. And our dimension.
We're going to get into that. And you and I are really going to disagree on this because we are very wildly different on it. And you might get a little mad.
I probably will.
When many people remember something incorrectly, it can strengthen the belief in that memory due to the power of social validation. So if you remember something incorrectly and 10 other people say, no, Jen, I remember it like you do, then it can strengthen your belief in the false memory.
Yes.
In addition to psychological explanations, some people speculate that the Mandela Effect is evidence of parallel universes or alternative realities.
Yep.
The theory suggests that slight changes in the timeline or reality shifts could explain why groups of people remember things differently. While there's no scientific evidence to support this, it has fueled the Mandela Effect's popularity, especially within conspiracy theory communities and pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The rise of the Mandela Effect coincided with the growth of the internet and social media, allowing users to share their experiences widely. Reddit communities, YouTube channels, and blogs have contributed to the ongoing fascination with the phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
Do, 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 do. Some people see it as an unsettling reminder that memory is unreliable, while others enjoy it as a quirky internet mystery that encourages collective introspection about the nature of reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's my thing. Have we become so goddamn narcissistic in this country that we can't possibly entertain we remembered something wrong? It has to be I switched timelines or I'm in an alternate reality instead of just, oh, I just remembered that wrong.
I don't think it has anything to do with being narcissistic. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of people remember it wrong. And I know you're going to go into the psychology of more people remembering something, and then
we already went into the
it
psychology.
validates that and blah, 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 blah. But I believe that it is possible that there are parallel universes and they cross over. And sometimes there's a glitch in the matrix, and something that isn't one way here might be a different way somewhere else. And some people experience it and other people don't, which is why some people will remember something being one way and other people remember it being another way.
I think it's very convenient to just say, oh, I was in a different reality than you.
I don't necessarily think it's a different reality. I think it's more of like a glitch type situation where something happened that just glitched out, and whether it like replaced our memories or altered them or something, or we glitched to remember something from another universe. I don't know. But I definitely think there's those glitches that cause some of it. I don't want to say all of it, but some of it.
So we're going to get into some other Mandela effects, and then I have some examples of people that believe they have experienced a timeline shift.
Okay.
That are not subject to collective like a bunch of people. It's specific to them in their lives.
Okay.
Many remember the air freshener brand Febreze being spelled Febreze with 2 E's in the middle. It's actually spelled Febreze with only 1 E. I'm going to ask you as we go through these how you remember it.
Yeah.
I've never paid a shit.
That's what I was going to say.
Attention to a Febreze bottle to know either way.
Definitely, if I was going to write it out, I would spell it with 2 E's, but that's just because that's the way breeze is spelled, but not because I strongly remember it being that way.
I think that's why people think it was spelled that way, because in your brain, if you're spelling out the word breeze, you would put an extra E in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple ones with spelling, and I don't want to say them in case you have them included, but there's a couple ones with spelling. But the ones with spelling, I think it's just, we're not remembering the spelling. It's usually spelled weird, and we're thinking it's spelled the right way, which again is just because our brains want to spell things right.
Right. Okay. The next one is Pikachu's tail. Some people remember Pikachu, the famous Pokemon, of having a black-tipped tail.
Nope, it has always been yellow.
In reality, Pikachu's tail has always been fully yellow with no black tip.
Always been fully yellow.
So Pikachu is the same as the Febreze bottle for me. I never paid that much attention.
Yeah. I grew up on Pokemon and still play Pokemon Go to this day, and actually just started playing a Pokemon video game like 2 days ago. So I am very much into Pokemon, and his tail has always been yellow. This glitch did not affect me. I must have missed this one.
You heard it here, folks.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. The song We Are the Champions. Do you know that song?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of people remember the Queen song We Are the Champions ending with the line of the world. So at the end, it's go, we are the champions of the world. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
However, the studio version of the song ends without that line. It just ends at we are the champions. And people are filling in the of the world.
Yeah, I have no memory of that one.
Here's the thing. Some of the live versions of the song do have of the world at the end of it. So for me, I think that's a tricky one. I don't even know if we can count that.
No, yeah, especially if they sang it differently sometimes.
Right. The next one is the Fruit of the Loom logo. A lot of people remember the Fruit of the Loom logo featuring a cornucopia, which is the horn of plenty, behind the fruits.
It did.
Reality, there's never been a cornucopia in the logo, just the fruits.
Lies.
I don't remember a cornucopia at all.
Lies. There was a cornucopia.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, bullshit. Lies.
We're going to go into Snow White now. In Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, many believe the evil queen says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" The actual line is, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" I would have said it was mirror, mirror.
Me too.
I would have put my life on it.
Me too. And have you ever watched Once Upon a Time?
Yes.
Okay, so I just recently rewatched it because I never finished it. So I went back and started back from the beginning. And I think when I watched it the first time, I wasn't really familiar with the Mandela Effect. And I didn't even think anything of it. And then when I watched it the second time, I was familiar with it. And Regina, the evil queen in Once Upon a Time, says magic mirror, not mirror, mirror. And I was like, lies. She said mirror, mirror. But yeah, no, that glitched affected me hard.
This one, I don't even know how many people, it's the Kit Kat bars. Many people believe there's a hyphen in the logo, making it Kit-Kat. But there's really no hyphen. The brand is just spelled Kit Kat. I don't remember a hyphen at all.
I kind of do, but not enough to say it is or it isn't.
Right. All right. Jen.
Kelly.
How would you spell Looney Tunes?
That's not fair because I know. But I disagree because it definitely wasn't when I was a kid.
So some remember the cartoon series being Looney Tunes, Toons, but it's actually spelled Looney Tunes, Tunes.
Which makes zero sense.
No, it does, because tunes is referring to the music and short films it was originally known for.
Okay, well, by the time it got to me, there was not music in it. So tunes with a U makes zero sense.
Now we're going to move on to our favorite brand of bologna, Oscar Mayer.
Mm-hmm.
You can also remember the brand of hot dogs and cold cuts as Oscar Mayer, Meyer, but the correct spelling is Oscar Mayer, Mayer, which we used to sing as a kid, and we always sang it Mayer.
I have no opinion. I think if I was going to write it out, I would have spelled it with an E, but...
Did you never sing the song?
No, that was before my time.
My bologna has a first name, it's Oscar. My bologna has a second name, it's Mayer.
I think my grandfather may have sang the song to me, but I don't know. Not well enough. Probably when I was too young to really think about spelling.
Right.
So.
This next one, I don't like it because it's deceptive. We're going to Forrest Gump.
Okay.
Many people remember the famous quote from Forrest Gump as, "Life is like a box of chocolates." They say the actual line is, "Life was like a box of chocolates." But if you watch the movie, it's actually both. Because Forrest's mom says to him, "Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get." That's what his mom says to him.
Okay.
When Forrest is retelling it to somebody else, he says that his mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. So technically, it's both.
Yeah, I definitely pictured Forrest saying life is like a box of chocolates, but I have probably only seen that movie once. So it's definitely more of just what has been said as the quote.
How could you have only seen that movie once? It's one of the greatest movies of all time. There's so many little lines in there that just, I don't know. My friend Michelle and I, when we quote this movie to each other all the time.
Yeah.
because of his one-liners that he has. We just think it's hysterical.
What's that? Totally off topic here. The new one. Shit. What's the name of it? He was in it's not that new anymore, but I still think of it as new. It was a few years ago, and he plays an old grumpy man.
Who?
Tom Hanks.
Oh, I have no idea. Why?
No, it's going to bother me. Hold on. I got to Google it.
Okay. He plays an old grumpy man.
Yes. If you have not seen it, you have to see it.
I probably haven't.
A Man Called Otto.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, Kelly, you need to watch that movie.
Okay.
It is a fantastic movie, and Tom Hanks plays an old grumpy man, and this
Don't say another word.
No, I don't want to spoil it, but it's just such a good, heartwarming movie, and it's fucking Tom Hanks, so you gotta love him.
Yeah. All right, I'll watch it. Okay, this next one is a doozy, man.
Okay, I'm ready. Let me buckle up.
Some people remember New Zealand being northeast of Australia. However, New Zealand is actually southeast of Australia. New Zealand did not move.
No, I've never heard this one before.
I had never heard that one before either, but I do know some conspiracy theorists say that New Zealand and Australia don't exist.
Oh.
Which my niece went to New Zealand on her honeymoon, so...
Yeah, who knows where she actually went. Are these also the same conspiracy theorists that say the Earth is flat?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, we know what we can do with that, Kelly.
Right.
Come on. Maybe the people that think that were looking at a globe and not a map, and they just had the globe the wrong direction, and they got their directions mixed up.
All right. We're going to move on.
Okay.
The Curious George.
Ooh, my favorite.
Some people distinctly remember Curious George, the famous monkey, having a tail. But Curious George never had a tail, as he is actually a chimpanzee, which are tailless.
I feel very strongly about this one.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. Because I read this book when I was a kid. My dad read it to me all the time. And I definitely remember him having a tail.
Okay.
I have a Beanie Baby. If you know anything about Thai Beanie Babies, his name was Bongo, and I got him when I was like 4.
You've told us before.
Oh, that's right, I have. And his name is George, and he has a tail.
But that's your Beanie Baby. It's not actually modeled after Curious George.
But I named him George because he looked so much like Curious George with a tail.
I'm sure you have never seen the movie Risky Business.
No.
But you might be familiar with this scene. Many people remember Tom Cruise's character in Risky Business dancing in a white t-shirt, underwear, tighty-whities, and sunglasses.
I've seen this recreated a bunch, yes.
Yes. While he did dance in a white shirt, he wasn't wearing sunglasses in this iconic scene.
Oh,
I think that people added the sunglasses to it thinking, like people that would recreate it, like, oh, this will make it extra cool.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say he was not dancing in his underwear, that he had pants on, and I was going to be very upset. Because I think part of what makes that scene so iconic is that he's pantsless.
Right. Let's talk about peanut butter.
Okay, let's talk about peanut butter.
Some people remember the peanut brand being called Jiffy, but the brand has always been called Jif.
I definitely remember Jiffy.
People may be conflating it with Skippy peanut butter and combining the two words.
And I heard that, but I have literally never heard of Skippy peanut butter prior to learning about the Mandela Effect.
You've never heard of Skippy peanut butter?
I don't really eat peanut butter unless it's mixed with chocolate.
Back to Star Wars.
Oh, another Star Wars.
Many Star Wars fans remember C-3PO as being entirely gold. I remember him being entirely gold.
I have not heard this Mandela Effect, so I still remember him being entirely gold. Is he not?
C-3PO actually has a silver lower leg in the original trilogy, which often goes unnoticed.
Does he?
I'm pretty sure I had C-3PO, because I had all the little, I had a Millennium Falcon and all the little Star Wars guys, and I was pretty sure he was all gold in the figure.
Oh, okay. Here's a picture with a silver leg.
Yeah.
But then there's like other pictures with him being all gold.
Maybe it's from that. They said in the original trilogy he had.
Did they then replace it later on in the other movies?
I have no idea. I haven't really seen much of the other movies.
Oh, I have. I don't remember much of them, but I've seen them. So maybe that is the case. If they did replace it in the other ones, that's where that false memory is coming from.
Probably,
the other ones are more recent. So that would be what everyone is remembering.
Right. So we're going to go now to Shazam, the movie.
No.
Many people remember a 1990s movie called Shazam, starring the comedian Sinbad as a genie.
He did.
No such movie exists.
I will die on this hill. This is one of my... I hate this one. He did.
This is often confused with the movie Kazam in 1996, which starred Shaquille O'Neal as a genie.
It was Sinbad.
I remember Kazam, but I've never heard of a Shazam until I heard of the Mandela Effect.
It was Sinbad. I remember this. I have never seen Kazam, but I clearly remember Shazam.
Did you watch Shazam?
I do. I remember watching it, and I remember Sinbad being a genie. Is there any other movie out there where Sinbad was a genie?
I don't know.
Because if there was, then I could see, okay, I got that confused in the name, whatever. But if there is...
He may have been like in a sketch comedy or something. He may have portrayed a genie in something like that. I'm not actually sure.
Okay, well, he was a genie at some point because I clearly remember him. I have a picture in my brain of him in a genie outfit.
But maybe you're just remembering the pictures that you have seen since the Mandela Effect came out that people have been posting of him as a genie when it's not really him as a genie.
But I remember it.
All right. So we're going to get into some more glitches, timeline shifting that are personal accounts to people rather than a collective memory or collective misremembering of something.
Okay.
I follow a Facebook group for pure entertainment, which I will not name, and I will only use examples that were posted anonymously.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to put somebody's like username out there, anything like that. So like we were saying, there's a connection with the Mandela Effect and people being like lost in the Matrix or a glitch, something of those along those lines. I went to the page and I pulled, again, some of the anonymously posted stories where people believe that they experienced a glitch or a shift in a timeline. Something to that effect. And I thought I would read a couple of them and we could talk about them.
Yes, please.
This is anonymously posted. About 12 years ago, my mom bought me a laptop for university. And I distinctly remember watching DVDs on it. I remember being in my old bedroom with a Domino's pizza and the Lord of the Rings box set with the extended stuff where they talk about how it was made. I watched it so much that I could recite all of the lines, much like you in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. I have also watched all the extended versions of Lord of the Rings with all of the behind the scenes and how things were made. And me and my best friend from high school, Teresa, I don't know if you listen, but hi, Teresa, if you do, we still send each other, we don't talk like that much anymore, but we still will send each other Facebook videos that we find about Dominic Monaghan and mostly Billy Boyd or any of the other actors who played the Hobbits. Like that we'll do interviews later on talking about it because we were obsessed with it.
I can't watch the movies because when Emily was little, it just happened to be a time where they were on TV constantly.
Okay.
Constantly. And Emily loved horses. And she was little and she called horses hee-haws.
Aww.
And if you were flipping through the channels and she got a glimpse of that movie, she would be like, hee-haws, hee-haws. And if you tried to turn the station, she would just scream and scream. I watched these movies so many times. I could not tell you a damn thing that happens in them.
So the only reason I ever watched Lord of the Rings was because Orlando Bloom was in it, and I loved him from Pirates of the Caribbean. And then I fell in love with Lord of the Rings as well. And when I was in 8th grade, me and my friend Teresa and some other friends that we had a club. And we were the Lord of the Pirates with Rings in the Caribbean.
Awesome. That is the best thing I've ever heard. I love that so much.
Yeah, we were everything about Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean. It was our thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Speaking of Orlando Bloom, Katie really likes his character in Lord of the Rings.
We can always speak about
And
Orlando Bloom.
When she was younger, she thought his name was Atlantis Broom. So we actually have a big stuffed flamingo named Atlantis Broom.
I love that.
I love it too. All right, where was I? Okay. Watching all the DVDs. This person remembers watching them. And there's a picture of him on his bed at his parents' house. Okay.
Okay.
He says, my brother's asleep next to me, and we were watching Lord of the Rings. I also borrowed loads of DVDs off of a friend, too. And I remember watching them all in my room at uni. I didn't have Netflix then or any other way to watch films other than dodgy streaming, but I didn't really know how to do that anyway. At some stage, though, my laptop lost the whole CD compartment. I remember I hadn't watched the DVD for a while, and I went to use it and was shocked that there was no CD compartment. I kept moving my hand across where it always was, or should have been, and there was nothing. I asked my boyfriend at the time, and he said it never had a slot for it. It's the same laptop, and I've never had a TV in my room at home or at university. So how do I have all these vivid memories? I only ever had this laptop, so it's not like I'm confusing it with a different one. For ages, I kept moving my hand over where it should be out of habit and kept forgetting that I didn't have a CD place now.
That's interesting.
Some people said somebody must have broken your laptop and then replaced it.
Yeah.
With like a newer model.
That was my thought.
But here's my thing. I don't know about that. Because if somebody just replaced my laptop, I would know. The second I logged on, I would know.
Well, that depends. When was this? Was it dated? They
don't say the day.
Because it just depends. Like nowadays anyway, like I know everything with Apple. Like I have a Mac, I have an iPad, and I have an iPhone. I'm a full-blown Apple girly. And when I get a new laptop or a new iPad or a phone, literally all someone has to do is sign in and everything is exactly the same. All of my stuff saves and backs up. So I don't know when this was, whether or not that technology existed at that point. But, and I'm sure it's similar with other non-Apple lesser computers. I imagine they have similar things. But if they do, then that's a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that is the best explanation.
Yeah.
That somebody replaced the laptop.
Yeah. I think by the time I got a MacBook, they had removed the CD drive out of it. But my MacBook would have been the first one I ever had that didn't have a CD drive. Okay. And I remember I bought a portable one that you could plug in because I think at this time I was still playing The Sims on the CD drive. So I had to put the games in. Yeah, I don't know. That would be my only explanation.
I can't think of any other explanation.
Or a glitch in the Matrix.
Or, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
That is the only logical explanation is someone broke it and replaced it. But if we're going non-logical here, which I'm totally open to, glitch in the Matrix.
So just somehow her computer in a different reality got into the reality she's currently in.
I don't necessarily think it was the computer that traveled realities. I think it has something to do with the memories. I think that we exist in several different realities. And sometimes those realities cross and our memories get swapped.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's not that the computer fell through a glitch, though I do have a theory about that I will talk about. Not a computer, but something else. And I was going to save it for another episode, but it kind of fits really well with this episode. So after all the stories, I will get into that. But I think in this instance, it's more of that memory glitch that somehow it crossed wires somehow, some way. And her memories from her in another universe then became her memories in this universe.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So the next story, my husband and I got married in 1996. I walked down the aisle to Pachelbel's Canon in D. At one point in the song, the sound guy accidentally pushed the wrong button and the music stopped for about 2 seconds and then resumed. Every time we hear Canon in D around Christmas time, we pause at that certain point in the song and are silent for a couple of seconds as a joke between the two of us about the wedding day mishap. My sister copied our wedding day VHS tape onto a DVD, and we sat down to watch it. And to our complete shock, I wasn't walking down the aisle to Canon in D. It was a completely different song, and there was no pause in the music, like it never happened. We are both 100% sure that it happened. The DVD is an exact copy taken from the original tape, so it wasn't dubbed over or anything. We are both flabbergasted. Now, the woman who posted this claims that the song she's walking down the aisle to is Ave Maria. And when questioned about the VHS tape itself, she said they watched it on the VHS tape as well, and it's Ave Maria on that and the DVD.
Interesting.
I'm wondering if she walk down the aisle to like Ave Maria, and then maybe after they got married and they're like introducing Mr. and Mrs. whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe it was a different time.
Or it could have been walking into the reception.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or did they like maybe play a different song for some reason at rehearsal?
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah. I thought it was very weird.
Especially that they both like had this like inside joke kind of thing going for years. And then they like, what? That didn't actually happen?
Yeah. Now this one just sounds like any kid to me.
Okay.
Any adult. So this person says, like many people, I store my belongings in those large plastic tote storage boxes. Several of them.
Same.
I've had them since the 90s when I was in high school and college, and they have moved with me all across the country. They are marked with a Sharpie regarding the contents, and I never switch around what is in them to a different box, although I may add to a box if the description fits. One such box, labeled concert t-shirts, contained various band shirts dating back to the late 80s up to the early 90s. When the box moved with me from the East Coast to the West Coast in the late 90s, I went to put additional shirts in the box and discovered all of my concert shirts from high school and college were gone. For years, I blamed my parents. I assumed my mother or father looked through the box and disliked the weird shirts in it and threw them away before they packed the box up into the U-Haul. I often thought about these shirts and wish I had them back. So many of them had such cool memories attached to the shows that I went to and were from obscure bands that not everybody would have a t-shirt to. I've added to that box from time to time with shirts from shows in the late 90s and some work shirts and clothes, but the concert shirts from high school and college were never in it. Tonight, I opened that box for the hell of it. As I was reminiscing with my kids, to my absolute shock, all of my concert shirts from high school and college were in the bin. I've literally not seen them since 1996. I was positively gobsmacked. I have absolutely no explanation for this. Not just one, but literally a stack of t-shirts I haven't seen in almost 30 years. I've been through this box several times since they disappeared. They've never been here until tonight.
How much drug usage was involved? I'm kidding.
I have no idea. Maybe he has 2 bins.
That are both labeled concert t-shirts?
Maybe. I don't know how many concerts he's been to or how big the bins are.
Yeah. I have definitely looked in some place, a drawer or a bin or whatever for items, have completely torn it apart, looked, could not find it, and then later found that item in that bin. But it's been one thing.
Right. Not like a whole stack.
Not like a whole stack of T-shirts.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that definitely is.
And he was probably telling his kids the story about how his parents got rid of all of his T-shirts.
Probably.
Okay, so that is all the stories that I have, but I want to hear your story now that you were talking about.
Okay, mine's not a story, it's a theory.
Okay.
So I know in past episodes we have discussed Bigfoot and other cryptids, and I have said that I have a theory about why people haven't found Bigfoot. And my theory is that somehow he crosses between dimensions or worlds. And there's some type of actual glitch that and other cryptids possibly too. Who knows? Maybe the chupacabra's hanging out in there. And maybe Nessie's in there. You know, maybe there's a glitch in the Loch Ness. Who knows?
Right. Maybe they're portals.
Yeah, that's kind of my theory, is that people will say that they like follow these things and then suddenly they disappear with no trace. Like they followed something, whether it's a Bigfoot or a large ape that escaped a nearby zoo, who knows? But they followed it and then all of a sudden there's no trace of it. So maybe it's going into these portals somehow. I don't know. That's my theory.
Well, I mean,
that's how I think cryptids still remain a mystery, because maybe they don't actually belong in this world and they've just somehow crossed over enough for people to see them and then for them to leave, you know, footprints and whatever other things that have been found.
Right.
And that's why people are always like, there's never a dead body. No one's ever found a Bigfoot body, because it doesn't die here. It goes back home into its world to die.
Do you think that they're shocked when they step into our world?
Yes.
Like, oh shit, how'd I get here?
Yeah, I do. Which is probably why most of the time they're running afraid and like not, you know, going towards people and are so afraid and seem so fearful because.
Or they're attacking
shocked.
Like Mothman or something.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Because they're like, what the fuck is this? What are these little humanoid creatures? This doesn't look like my world. So they're scared. So they lash out. Maybe the chupacabra doesn't have goats in his world. So he's like, what the fuck is this goat? I got to kill it. It's obviously, you know, dangerous.
Of all the animals to think they're dangerous, a goat.
Right. But you don't know what he sees. Maybe in his world, he has the Monty Python evil bunny. So anything that's soft, furry, and cute is dangerous. Whereas, so then he sees the goat and he's like, oh, fuck. But then he sees like something else that's not so soft and furry and cute. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're cool.
That's interesting. That's an interesting theory. Mm-hmm. I like it. I like that one.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's deep dive into the Mandela Effect. Whether it's a trick of the mind, a quirk in the fabric of reality, or just an uncanny coincidence shared by so many of us, there's no denying how unsettling it can feel to question your own memories. We've uncovered some of the most bizarre and well-known examples, from the curious case of Nelson Mandela's early death to the mystery of why Pikachu's tail never had a black tip.
It didn't.
So is it our collective minds playing tricks on us, or is it something else at work here?
Something else.
Either way, one thing is clear. Our memories are more fragile and malleable than we think. And the next time someone swears Febreze had 2 E's, or they've seen Shazam with Sinbad,
I did.
You'll know you're not alone in the weirdness. Maybe it's just a false memory, or maybe, just maybe,
it's a glitch in the Matrix.
Reality isn't quite what we think.
And if you loved what you heard in this episode and all of our other episodes, please go on, rate, review, and subscribe to wherever you listen to us, because it helps get us more listeners, which helps get us more episodes to you guys, which I forgot to point out last episode, Kelly. You know, the episode we released last week, The White House, was our 20th episode.
Wow.
This is our 21st episode. I know.
That's amazing.
21 episodes. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of us.
I am too.
I'm excited. I meant to say something during the White House episode and forgot. But Yes, please rate, review, subscribe, listen, tell your friends, and then have them tell their friends, and then them tell their friends, and just eventually
Great.
have everybody listen to us because we're cool.
Yeah. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Not My Ghost Podcast and on Facebook at Not My Ghost, Not My Problem. We post updates, photos, and more.
If you want even more ghostly content, because of course you do, consider joining our Patreon. We have some great exclusive perks. You get early episodes. We also do bonus mini episodes, which are so much fun.
Yes, they are.
And all kinds of other fun stuff. You get to join our Discord and actually chat with us. Because we do, I respond. Kelly doesn't really respond.
Jen told me to go on the Discord one day, and I said, I don't even know what that is. And she's like, you literally signed up for it. You're on the...
You created an account.
Listen, I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm old.
I chat with our 3 patrons.
I love you guys so much, and I appreciate you so much.
Yes.
I just am really bad at remembering that things exist.
I'll keep trying to remind her. And if you've ever had a spine-tingling paranormal encounter, or if you had ever experienced a glitch in the Matrix, or
please
really
let us know.
Anything else, we don't care. Just email us. I want to shout out one of our patrons today, Katrona, who did email us a story today, and I'm really excited to read it. Ooh. And I'm super excited because she was chatting on Discord, and I asked her to send in her story, and she did. She's actually already sent in another story to us. So we've got a few stories from her in our inbox that we'll read if we ever get enough stories to Paranormal Postcards episode.
Yes. Thank you for joining us in this mind-bending journey of the Mandela Effect. Remember, as you walk through your memory, keep this in mind.
If it's not your false memory,
it's not your problem.
Until next time, stay spooky.
And stay skeptical.